subconsciously, I had developed this posture and performing
Yeah.
energy. I'm the man, and I'm gonna show you.
Debunked or create a different narrative or a different space that allows men to be seen, heard, understood.
We all have value. We all have meaning. We all have purpose.
If you stand for nothing, you fall for everything. A real man does whatever it takes to make money. A real man has a Ferrari, has a house, has a mansion.
What's up, family? It's your main man, Coach Crump, with another great episode of a Boy Man King podcast. And I'm with my main man, Chisy. Say what's up to the people, Chisy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? I'm feeling good, Crump. I'm feeling really, 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 really good.
I see that. I see that. You got your workout
I'm
gear
feeling
on. You know what I'm saying? Shout out. You know what I'm saying? We want to make sure you stay fit. You know what I'm saying? We not only want to make sure you stay fit, Chizzy, but we also want to make sure you address your fears,
Facts.
man. I wanted to bring this up because, I just had a recent experience with my wife where, I'm the man's man. I'm the head of my household. I got big alpha energy on multiple levels. I'm the king of the hill, all of that, right? And then we had to get marriage coaching and counseling to get a breakthrough. And my trauma from being adopted and feeling like I have to perform to be accepted was showing up still in my marriage almost 20 years later in different ways. And my wife was tired of it, bro. My wife, subconsciously, I had developed this posture and performing energy. You know what I'm saying? Where I'm the man and I'm gonna show you. And because I'm the man, everybody should be treating me a certain way. Like that was just kind of like the ethos, right? And my wife was just like, I want the real. I don't want the performance. I don't want the posturing. I just want the real you. Like even the ugly parts, like you don't have it all together, you don't know it all. So, some things about my past I'm ashamed of. Some things I struggle with my flesh, I'm ashamed of. I'm not proud of everything that I've done and everything that I do. I'm still a work in progress like everybody else. But my wife was just like, just deal with it though. My wife was just like, let's deal with it. And after the coaching session, we had 2 hours. I land at the next city. She calls me till 1 o'clock in the morning. Like, you better not ever get on the coaching call with that BS, with that trying to be sophisticated. If you gonna do this, if you gonna play this game, don't ask me on another call. Like, be real, be honest, be open, and keep it a buck with me. And she said, and she demanded that I be transparent. And so I had to ask them what I struggle with sinfully and what I struggle with ideally. And they had to question me in ways like, then where did that come from? Then why do you struggle with that? And then what happened? And then why? And I'm just sitting there now, we on another 2 hours. And and now I'm nervous. I cried. I went through all of this, and on the other side of my fear, here's the reason why I'm bringing this up. Some of you got problems with your finances. Some of you got problems with your flesh. Some of you got problems with your faith. But if you let fear hold you hostage, you will never get on the other side of breakthrough. And when I tell you, me and my wife, we're not perfect, but when you get past a breakthrough with your wife, like we are in a whole nother space about sex, about communication, about working together. But what blew my mind in this red pill culture, what blew my mind was I needed my wife's courage to attach to my courage, to hold my hand, to walk me through my fear, to face it so that we can overcome it, so that we can benefit. You couldn't have told me, you couldn't have broke it down to me that I would need my wife's courage to help me walk through my past trauma, my past fears, and my shame, and not want to publicly address something that I need to address with my wife, who still supports me fully, not just in with my success, because you don't. uh, Let me just say men. Let me just say me, because I don't know every man's situation. I trust a lot of people with my success as far as them being aware of it. I don't trust nobody with my shame. And so it included my wife. So when I was able to expose that and I would felt free, shout out to Julian, who always talks about you could be faithful, but are you free? You know what I mean? And to experience freedom with her, it translated to love that we had never really had, because I will always guard a certain portion of me because I was shameful about that
Right.
portion of me. And so, man, I just wanted to kind of talk about that, because it could be men out here stunting and performing and posturing and posing, and you got success, but you don't got fulfillment and you don't have breakthrough with a significant other or with your partners or with your family or with your business, because you haven't been able to walk past that
Mhm.
fear. And sometimes what I wanted to let people know, you don't have to walk alone. There are experts and there are others. There are people that care about you that can help you navigate that. And so I just kind of wanted to give a testimony, confession
Yeah.
money, just about my recent journey in that, bro, and just share with the community.
Fear. False expectations appearing real. I don't think I didn't make that up. Somebody else made it up.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna we'll get just gonna stick there for a little bit. False. So fear is this perception of something that allows me that actually doesn't allow me to push past this perceived outcome that hasn't even really actualized yet. It may have come to be in your mind. You may have had a past experience about something, but it doesn't necessarily mean it will manifest in the present or maybe not even in the future. So that's kind of what fear can look like or is. This perception or this feeling or this perceived something that may not even happen yet. But we actually function in a way in the present as though this fear is real, and this fear is actually prohibiting us from having a breakthrough. So you said earlier about the red pill community. Part of what we endeavor to do in Boy Man King, part of the reason why we started this platform was to debunk or create a different narrative or a different space that allows men to be seen, heard, understood, and to reduce the level of fear that they experience in just showing up as an individual man day in and day out. And there are two genders, male and female. Somebody may argue about this, but I'm just gonna make my point. The male experience is very different from the female experience on this planet. We're expected to perform, we're expected to provide, we're expected to protect. We have all these expectations, and we do the best that we can under certain circumstances. But, you know, I think the one area where we struggle as men is the emotional awareness and the vulnerability that we may need, similar to the experience you had with you and your wife during that session, to allow you to see yourself in a different way and to feel comfortable enough to show those vulnerabilities
Mm,
and work through a process to become better in a particular space. And I think largely what we're
mm,
seeing in this red pill community. So simply, if you're watching the movie The Matrix, the red pill, blue pill is a choice. A choice of the red pill is this individuality is to kind of get out of the hamster wheel of being socially programmed to be a particular way. The blue pill is your life just continues and you just function, go to work, do everything, and you're pretty much robotic in terms of how you function in society, if I can use those terms. So that's the distinguishing difference between the red pill and the blue pill. What we're seeing now in the red,
and the blue pill kind of leads to
right.
depression and anxiety, and the red pill kind of, you open your mind and you're free now, and you're available to see outside the matrix and all of that. You know what I mean?
And there's some truth to having a consciousness of self to the point where you see yourself and your involvement in the wider society and the community in a healthy and productive way. So I take the good parts of the red, quote unquote, red pill in terms of seeing myself and my ability to chart my own course, given I understand purpose through God. I'm emotionally intelligent. I love my community. I love my children, and I'm able to function and navigate life in a way that I can kind of control with a certain amount of control anyway. The outcomes that I'm willing to put into the efforts that I give. What we're seeing now is this extreme left perspective on masculinity. Some call it toxic masculinity,
Yeah.
some call it misogynistic. There's a lot of stuff out there nowadays, and I think we determined a long time ago that we have a responsibility as God fearing, as men in particular,
To give them the
to
God
give them the
pill.
God pill.
Who giving you the
Yeah,
God
yeah,
pill?
yeah. And
Yeah.
although, religion and spirituality and relationship may not be for everybody, we get that. I get that, understand. But I think that there's a lot of misinformation and false information and toxic doctrines. And I'm not saying doctrines from a religious sense, I'm talking doctrines in terms of ideals that are being spun in the community today on social media, um, that are not quite healthy, and it's not a good
Yeah.
reflection of the value system that a man, in my view, should adapt and should have and should use, and how they should function. Like the misogynistic talks, the objectification of women. Um,
Yeah, women and women not a punching bag. You know what I'm
you
saying? Like, and
know,
they're not a help to us, but you got to be whole. A man not a punching bag
fact.
either, right? But we're not excusing the fact of embracing our full humanity, but we're also not excusing the fact that we got to be accountable for ourselves and how that shows up for others. And it's our responsibilities to be leaders and owners of that space, and not to project and to put it on anybody else, particularly women, to justify how we behave and what we believe as men. You know what I mean? And so we kind of base it on the Bible. Let's make it
Mhm,
crystal
mhm.
clear. You know what I mean? When Chizzy was saying a man and a woman, when we talk about the Bible, we talk about God like, we're Christian
Yep.
men. And we truly believe in that structure that God has already kind of provided for us. Now everybody's going to make up a version and make up an opinion, but for us, it's really simple and clean. We all have value. We all have meaning. We all have purpose. And it's our responsibility as men to show up in a space where we first making ourselves accountable to ourselves and to God, and we are making that such a way that we can support others, particularly women and children. And that's really the bottom
Yeah.
line.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important also to recognize that, there is a level of innocence that's that's in the world. So we're talking about young kids, you're talking about young boys, young girls, and what's happening because of the access of social media and the access of TikTok and all these
Mhm.
platforms. I think people are falling prey to people's opinions, and they're not, and young people are being taken advantage of from a vulnerability
Right.
perspective, where they don't necessarily get a fair share and a fair shot of creating their own identities in a healthy way. A lot of that has to do with materialism. A lot of that has to do with over sexualized content. A lot of it has to do with the capacity you have to make copious amounts of money just by having a platform and giving your opinions, whether even you agree with whether you believe in what you're saying is true or not.
or or were there any facts in it, whatever, as well, making money off of just pure propaganda is
It's
crazy
it,
too.
and
You
I
know what I
think,
mean?
if you stand for nothing, you fall for everything. So that's kind of the space that we occupy in terms of, I think we have a responsibility, and as a man, you have a responsibility to demonstrate to the next generation what your struggles are, one, and how you can transition past those struggles in a healthy way, so that you're not perpetuating these toxic notions of what a man is. You know what I mean? Nowadays, a man is can be perceived to be very much anti-family. So a real man, has multiple women. A real man does whatever it takes to make money. A real man has a Ferrari, has a house, has a mansion. These things, not to say that they're invaluable, but you know, it's important to really, really give perspective to what manliness is,
But,
to what relationships are, to what healthy relationships look like in a particular way.
yeah, man, being a man, bro, is a lot of things. And we could say a lot of sexy things, we could say a lot of popular things, you could say a lot of trendy things, but I'm gonna be honest, like it's hard, it's heavy, but it's also necessary. And one of the things we wanted to really share that a lot of men don't come up here and talk about because they're not gonna go viral and it's not gonna be something that can be
Yeah,
clickbait is men are afraid too. I just want to be crystal clear that men are afraid too. We're afraid sometimes relationally, we're afraid financially. But also what I wanted to share, which was very challenging for me that took me into my 40s to even ever address in a real way is, we'll be afraid
yeah,
emotionally. Opening up emotionally, man. Women, adults have scarred, me personally. And so even though I love my wife, I was scared to open that element with her because I was afraid that it would be
yeah,
used.
definitely.
I was afraid to be
Hmm.
exposed. I had to go through my journey, but what I shared this with you guys to let you know it is important that you address
Yeah,
it though. You know, be wise, but as men, we are like, let's talk about money. Let's talk about women. Let's talk about
sports.
achieving stuff and
Yeah,
status and sports and LeBron and this. But we don't want to hop over here and say, let's talk about our fears. You know what I'm
inadequate
saying?
fears.
And be all completely
Yeah,
honest. Let's talk about what you're shameful about. And so, man, that was a process for me. It wasn't like you could ask me the question, I just say it. It took hours, it took multiple sessions, it took questioning in a way to build trust in a
yeah, yeah,
space to even allow. Like I couldn't just go to any marriage counselors and coaches. I had to go to people I trusted for years. You know what I mean? When I'm talking about years, I'm talking about 10
yeah,
plus years. So it's like I don't want to make this seem like it's it's like that. It could just happen. I'm just saying like the freedom I'm experiencing with my wife, who was a big reason to help me even
yeah,
get through it. Like, you know, yeah, bro. And nothing's perfect and don't have it all together, but talking about which one's more powerful and which one's more important. We're all powerful. We're all important in our respective but that gave me a aha because I don't see how I would have ever broke through without my wife helping me through the breakthrough, right? I always say this: men are the most important, but women are the most powerful. And so I'm very grateful. I come up here humble. I come up here like, man, I didn't know. Now I know, and I just really want to share that with our community because a lot of times we could be struggling because of what we don't know, and fear is something that also could keep us captive and keep us in bondage and hostage emotionally and psychologically and financially because we don't know what we don't know. And so I just wanted to share
no,
that.
I respect that, and I really appreciate your transparency. I just want to say that um, the women in our lives have a big part to play in all of this because a lot of the times, a lot of the reasons why men in relationships are afraid to kind of bear it all, so to speak, it's because of the fear of not being seen to be masculine. So if I show my deficits, if I talk about my vulnerabilities, if I demonstrate a level of softness, then my woman will never won't respect me, or they won't look at me in a particular way. And so I want to encourage the women out there, the women either in our lives or not in our lives, or the women that are in relationships with men. Um, we are just looking for a soft place to land, to be honest. And the moment you can attest to this, Crump, the moment you create an environment where you can be open and honest and fully transparent about your deficits and the stuff you struggle with, it's like a light bulb goes off, and it's like it's something that you wish you would have had way before you've gotten to that particular point. So I just want to encourage the ladies out there, like, create a space where your guy can really, really fully embrace his emotions and the stuff that he struggles with. It's not easy. It's a difficult conversation, but I think growth is at the end of that tunnel. I've seen it just in my own vulnerabilities. I've seen it in people that, in the people that I support. I've seen it in my family. So, I encourage it across the board. And obviously, this is why we do what we do, Crump. So I'm glad and happy to hear
Yeah.
that, you've had those breakthroughs and 20 plus years of marriage, bro. Like, whatever evolving.
Yeah, and that's the whole point. That's the whole reason why I'm sharing, because I don't want you to think that you ever get to a certain status and you get to ever a certain stage and you just
Right.
arrive. But as we say on the Boy
Mhm.
Man King podcast,
Mhm.
the
Continue.
journey continues. So thank you again for tapping in with us. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate y'all. Make sure you face your fears in a safe, supportive
Mhm.
environment with those that can help you with the tips and tools. And as we say, the Boy Man King
Journey
podcast, the
continues.
journey continues. We out.
Peace.
Y'all be blessed.